Welcome to your Veterans Resource Podcast, Return to Roots. This podcast is for service members and their family members regarding retention, transition, and reintegration from active duty to veterans in the community. Hi, I'm your host, Chris Elder, an active duty senior chief in the United States Navy, and my partner in crime / host is Yogi Hernandez, who's an active duty chief in the Navy. Together, we are documenting our experiences as we prepare to transition and reintegrate into the community. Every podcast will have actionable content that will benefit American service members and their families, as well as those who have already transitioned and reintegrated. We got some exciting news. My Transition Timeline 365 is now on the Android and Apple App Store. Go on there, download it, track your transition timeline, find ReturnToRoots Mil2Vet inside of the app where you can find new updated episodes and get the most up-to-date information on your transition, because your transition and reintegration into the community is priority. Enjoy the app and enjoy this show. This material is intended for a mature audience. If you have little ears within earshot, please make sure that you listen to it before you allow them to listen. We encourage people to utilize Courage to Call 211 if you have any suicidal ideations, or if you just need somebody to talk to. 211 is a great resource. Today we have the honor of talking with Chuck Callahan, who served 30 years in the Marine Corps and has continued service with Work4Warriors. Enjoy.
Appreciate you guys inviting me to this event. Well, first of all, like you said, like you're talking about in the opening, I agree. We need to figure out a way to reduce, how do we reduce suicide veterans? How do we reduce homelessness? There's no one answer fits all, but I have some ideas. But a little bit about me. I'm a United States Marine, retired Sergeant Major, served 30 years, every facet of the Marine Air Ground Task Force. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have stuck around. But something you guys are talking about is, we're really good at getting people to stay in, but we don't tell anyone how to get out. That goes for regular EAS guys, the 4-year kid that's going to go ahead and go to college or go back to the workforce, the retiring senior chief at 21 years who's like, now what do I do, or where do I go? All these things that we have, there's lots of information out there, but none of it ever ties together. And that's one thing I've really been working on at Work4Warriors, is how do we get that word across without insulting anybody that's in the transition readiness program. So they want us to be around, right? Because it's a team effort, and I think that's what we really got to work on is the team aspect of, not a competition aspect of it. Because that's how we get really good at what we do, is by uniting and becoming a team. One thing you're talking about, was suicide, veteran suicide. That's something that really hits near and dear to my heart, because I've lost way too many of my fellow Marines and sailors post-war that have gotten out. And what I think it is while they're here, there's a common voice. They hear the same people talking. The support structure's there, everything's here. But as soon as they walk out and they're back in, civilian America, wherever they're at, away from this, they lose that voice that's helping them keep everything quiet in their head. And let's be honest, a lot of these guys are and gals are not, they're not weak people. They just don't know what's wrong and are afraid to ask for help. And it's not afraid. It's just the stigma, the fear that people say, we got to get rid of the stigma. Well, I hate to break to you, it's just one of those things. It's just not going to go away from a type A personality group of people. So as we can figure out how to build that team and keep everyone together, my grandfather had the VFW. That was a big program. The VFW is not what it once was, I don't think. And that's one thing we're going to try to help build back up with today's veterans. So anything we can do. It's great to be here, though. I really appreciate it. For you two that are being, going through the process you're going through, just make sure you hold out and get everything you're supposed to get, because once you cross across the Pearl Gate, it's not as easy as it once was.
Working with the VA and Marine and family and the Fleet and family, and whatever service branch you have that has that organization that sets your transition classes up. You said it right, man. Hey, we're not here to discredit any of the people that are in that program. They do the best they can with what they have. And really, it's not much. It's almost like they have a couple rolls of duct tape and some slideshow. Some of them have really nice setup, and the one here down in San Diego, I think they they have enough funding, but for the people over there in Japan that are sitting in that base that may not have the proper facilities for your class, or just go out there and find people that are in those organizations because they want to help. They offer their numbers. They did everything that they could to help. So yeah, you're right, man. Like us as our podcast and your organizations like yours, it's great that you brought that point. Hey, like, work with them.
They're limited on time. That's the one thing they're limited on. They have hundreds of people going through their program a week. I think it's 39 a week on Camp Pendleton, 39 weeks a year they do TRS on Camp Pendleton. And there's no way, with the amount of people, the throughput, that they can provide all the services they want to provide, because they really do go out of their way. Like you said, they're providing their phone numbers. They're doing things after hours. They're doing what they can. But when you have 239 people a week going through back to back to back, because of a very difficult process, to just to have honest follow through, right? And it's not a fault of theirs; it's just time. Whereas organizations like mine and many others throughout our country can be more narrow focused on a smaller population of that 239 per week, or whatever that magical number is, so we can assist in any way we can. Because there's most of our guys that work at the transition programs are veterans. It's not like they're just somebody off the street that was looking for a job and oh, this looks like a great job. No, they're people that care about you and I, right? So I recognize that, but it gets really hard on them with the throughput they have to do, and the requirements, right? There's classes, there's all the canned classes they have to give that are directed by the Department of Defense. You have your operational, your tactical, right? Your strategic level, right? Well, I'd like to tell everybody, I'm at the tactical level. I'm face to face. Whereas the DOD's at the strategic level, coming up with those great classes and all this stuff that may not mean anything to you or I. Because when I was going through TRS, I knew what I was not going to do, which is ever wear a tie. Right? I have a 19-inch neck. It's uncomfortable.
You need a lot of material for that neck.
Yeah. So it's like, why would I want to go through a class about being in a Fortune 500 company? Because that's not what I'm going to do. That was never my goal. My goal is always be with the people, helping people out. You got to know who you are, and you got to find what fits you best. It's a team, though, and just everybody understands the team concept. I think it's how we really get it better for everybody. Like you were talking about Maurice, right? He really is onto something with this reboot, really onto something with some of these programs, welcome people back to the community. San Diego, we're lucky, right? I mean, we have Naval Region Southwest, Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton, Marine Corps Air Station Miramar, MCRD San Diego. We have all this support structure. One of the best VA hospitals in America, 2 big naval hospitals. We have all the support and everything here. But when Johnny Do Good goes back to Kansas, what does he have there? Right. And that's that whole port of getting these kids to go home. These organizations that are there, the sea of goodwill, as Maurice calls it, can help this kid and this guy or this gal get back to being normal in their home record.
So tell us a little bit about you. So you were in the military 30 years, Marine Corps. Did you feel ready to retire when the time came? Or how did you feel about it?
2016, I had an emotional event, as I like to call it, right? And I tell people, don't make emotional-based decisions. I was coming off a deployment with Marine Attack Squadron 311, Tomcats, Teddy fucking ball game squadron. Came off the deployment, was getting ready to hopefully thinking I'd come back to my family, because I was a geo bachelor at the time. And I called my monitor. Monitor told me flat out, no, I'm not moving you. Get comfortable. You're not going anywhere. If anything, you're going over to Japan. Coming off my third deployment. It was my third deployment in a row, 4 or 5 if you count the little deployments, to Alaska and Florida, what have you. It was a long deployment. We were gone from January through September. So we were the last Marine Attack Squadron and Harriers going to Japan at the time. So we got the bonus round. Got back, was pissed off. He told me my choices was either take, stick it out there or submit my retirement papers. So I went down to IPAC to spend my retirement papers.
Wow.
And the next morning, one of the best mentors I ever had, Sergeant Major James Porterfield, he was the Marine Expeditionary Force Sergeant Major at the time, was in my office at 7:30 in the morning the next day. And he asked me to hold off and see what he could do. I said, okay, no worries. Well, I still went to transition readiness seminar up on Camp Pendleton. I came home. My wife was in San Diego, so I came back here to go to TRS. And when I went through transition readiness seminar, what was funny was I was ready to get out. I was clear in mind. I was, oh, yep, I could do this. 26 years, 27 years, I think at the time. I was like, yeah, I could do this. I'm ready to go. And then I got the phone call that they were going to send me back to Camp Helton. So I was like, all right, well, I mean, I could stay in too, because I still loved it. I still love the course. So why would I get out if I have something I love to do and I still can do it? So I got a great opportunity, came back to Camp Helton, and I worked with one of the greatest human beings in the world, Dan Yaroslawski, Colonel Dan Yaroslawski, also retired now, and had the opportunity to grow and, get myself healthy for the first time in a while and get my mind, everything working right. And I was able to stick it out and do 30 years. But there's those people in your life that come up at certain times that really help you when you least expect it. And it's the goodness of those people, the reason why I'm still here today, the reason why I was successful in my life. Too many people try to take credit for other people's good deeds, but I've always had to say, I'd rather be the guy holding people up than standing on their shoulders and make myself look good. So I'm appreciative of people that have. But yeah, it was 30 years stationed in Japan, stationed in North Carolina, stationed in Connecticut, stationed in Arizona, multiple times in Japan. I should have property there, but I don't, unfortunately. I don't think I can buy it anyways. I think there's rules about that.
We're in Japan.
Iwakuni and Okinawa.
Okay. So that's where me and Chris were at.
Okay,
As a matter of fact, I have a house in Japan, right?
Yeah,
In Iwakuni.
Yeah.
So
nice.
You still can do it. Prices of property, we're sidetracking completely, but prices of property are phenomenal right now in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't drive my wife to Japan. She's not Japanese, and I don't think she really wants to go there.
So you did all that. So when you were at 26 years, you went to TAPS, you were ready, and then you had a mentor that made you stay in. Did you do anything to prepare yourself between 26 and 30 as you were going along? Did you see things differently?
What's funny, right, is no, I didn't. I absolutely didn't. I'm a believer in you're in until you're not, right? And this is one thing I try to talk to Marine sailors about is if you're always staring for the future, you're going to miss the present, right? Be the best you could be when you're doing what you're doing at that time. And your reputation and your performance will help carry you to whatever you're going to do next. Maybe I was wrong and not, knocking out a few, classes here and there and doing some of this other stuff that people do. But at the same time, I felt wrong because that would have been taking me away from what my duties were, my responsibilities. I had a regiment, 2 different regiments I went and worked at. And when you're at those levels and you have subordinates that are coming to you, peers, right? Fellow sergeants, majors, fellow master chiefs coming to me and talk to me about, concerns, mentorship, what have you. I felt it'd been wrong for me not to be there when they needed me to be there. Right. So, because that's what I was here for. I wasn't here for myself. I think it's the hardest thing for most of us in the military is, especially careerists, right? Majorities aren't here for ourselves. We're here for the people around us. So when you find yourself at the end going, man, what did I do wrong?
Right.
But it's that challenge, right? So yeah, I got blessed, right? I mean, luckily when I retired, this opportunity came to me out of the blue. It's worked out perfect because I'm in a nonprofit. I'm helping people. I get to kind of set my own hours for the day to be able to go out and take care of, Marines, sailors, soldiers, what have you. And as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, which is take care of people, I have the opportunity to do great things, which is what I wanted to do. So I got lucky because of the performance of my past that I had in my resume is what got me the position I'm in today. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. So with that, right? So you prepared yourself by doing what you were doing, focusing on taking care of people and being able to do it and being 100% into it, right? Would you say that for some people, it's not always like that? And let's talk about your last year in the military. How did you play that out? How did that play out?
So my last year was a unique challenge, right? I mean, I went through a change of command, in that year. And so I had a new regimental commander, new colonel, in his first command since he was a lieutenant colonel. So I couldn't take the time off. We still had all the other requirements and responsibilities. And this guy needed me there to be, his sounding board, right? So I retired February 18th of last year. I started all of my stuff for separation in December while we were doing, Operation Steel Night and stuff like that. I was cutting out and taking care of things during the day and the afternoon and what have you, wherever I could fit it at. Put my appointments during like chow time. I put my, I did a lot of self-sacrifice so I could still be there, be the person they needed me to be responsible. And then January came, and me and him sat down. And he goes, I need you to focus on getting out, getting ready to go. I mean, I had gone to TRS the second time a year prior to that. I had gotten, I'd done a lot of research at night and on the weekends of what I wanted to do, what I was looking at doing. But I would spend like the dead, we all know dead hours, right? Have really nothing going on. A lot of times we take, instead of setting our conditions to where, when's the best time for me to go to physical therapy? Well, honestly, the best time to go to physical therapy for anybody is in the afternoon, because nobody's in there, right? Because everybody does it in the morning, right? So I would go in the afternoon, and I actually got extra treatment because she could actually, the physical therapist, who was awesome, could actually focus on me, right? Could actually take care of her. So I was going at times where she wasn't busy, where they weren't busy. But if you went there, between 8 and 2 o'clock, you couldn't get a chair to sit down on because it was so damn crowded. My doctor's appointments, I set them for times of the day when they were not busy. I started my VA appointments with the QTC appointments, right, where you do all your findings stuff. I did all those in January, so I was able to really get after it and set all that stuff up. I mean, there's a big difference between a guy at 30 years too, and I recognize that, right? I knew that I was also taking 100 days of terminal leave, so I knew while I was on terminal leave, I could get a lot of stuff done that I needed to get done. Because COVID helped me with that, right? So I got all my stuff submitted by the 180-day clock, like you're supposed to, with the VA, and that was my focus in December. And then once that was done, I started the next focus, and I made a list of things I needed to do. So like I said, no one tells you how to get out, and you talk to people that retired, and everyone's got a different story or a different way if something happened. And our going joke was, we need to create a damn checklist, because there's all these things, all the unknown things, right? I mean, hell, like getting an ID card. You cannot get a retirement ID card until your active ID card expires on your EAS, but you can't get on base with an expired ID card, right? So when you're doing that balance, how do you do it? Oh, and by the way, you can't get a retirement ID card until about a week to 2 weeks after you retire, because you have to transfer the DEER system to the retired list. Nobody tells you this stuff, right? And then you're told you're going to get TRICARE is going to cover you, no problem. Well, you get a letter from TRICARE saying you're in a direct payment mode because you have to enroll in TRICARE, retiree or whatever it is. Okay, that's cool. You go to try to do that. Oh, you can't do that yet because you're not transferred over in the retirement system. So there's all these little things that no one tells you about. But I will say, 32nd Street's ID card center is the best ID card office, and it's off base. So that's a secret that needs to be put out there, because you try to make an appointment on Camp Pendleton, you have to wait 9 years to get there, and then you're gonna be pissed off while you're going through their process, because they just don't take care of you there. They're just not timely or kind, and it doesn't make sense. And it's not base's fault or the program's fault. It's just how it's designed is ridiculous. If I could change anything, I would change how we do ID cards.
So let's talk about your program. So what is Work for Warriors? How did that come about?
Yeah, so Work for Warriors is a unique program, right? It was born out of the war, okay? During the war, 10 years ago, just hit 10 years back in October. Obviously working on our 11th year now. During the war, the National Guard was deploying on point, right? And they were having a problem. They came home of finding jobs and getting careers going, because we all know that the Soldier Servant Relief Act doesn't apply to you unless you're in a reserve status or active duty status. So employers realized they were losing people for, and they don't lose them for 7 months. They lose them for about 18 months total on the average guard or reservist, right? And when they went to a year longer, that added another 6 months onto that. So, I mean, it just got longer and longer. These guys are gone for their program. So imagine you're a police department in rural California where you have 8 officers, 3 of them are reservists or National Guardsmen. They get activated. You now only have 5 officers because you can't hire people to replace them either. Get to reserve their job, right? People are having a hard time getting their jobs back or going to work, period, or getting hired in the first place. Work for Warriors came out with this program targeting National Guard. We're actually fall out of the California Military Department, and we're a non-for-profit because we're state and federally funded. That's how it began. Where we're at now is we focus on active, transitioning active duty family members, reservists of all branches, National Guard, of course, Air National Guard, and we're focused on California purely. Now, there's 13 other states that have Work for Warriors as well, in different levels of build. Oregon's pretty good on point with us. Hawaii is up on those, Georgia's just like we are, and a couple of states are just growing. But Arizona's got 2 people that do the same job that we do here, right? And just those 2 guys are working their rears off to get, results for people out there in Arizona. Now, Arizona doesn't have the population we have, but they have a very big veteran population. So something to think about. And we try to assist each other with, with partnerships in other states and what have you. I said, if I get a partnership like General Dynamic Electric Boat, right, in NASCO, well, they're mostly on the East Coast, Georgia and Rhode Island and Connecticut and what have you, in the port we have here. So I've sent the same partner that I have to those cats out there on the East Coast so they can, get that same partnership going. I'll give you an example. That's what we do. We partner with companies, and how we do that is it's not contractual. There's no charge to anybody, but we host their jobs on our job board. And one thing you guys are going to figure out real fast when you start applying to new jobs is how frustrating it is when you have to create a new password, a new account for each company you apply to, right? And as you do this and you keep building, you got to remember all your different stupid passwords. Some are easy to do, some you can't use the same one more than once. And it gets kind of frustrating. Our job board's free. www.workforwarriors.org. You can go to our job, find career, search by location, search by title, keywords, what have you. And it'll give you every job we have in those locations or by those parameters. Then what we do is you send me your resume and say, I want to apply to Vulcan Material Company. It's a concrete company throughout the state. I want to work as a concrete driver up in Sacramento because they have an open position there. I get your resume, I look at it, and I go, okay, great, buddy. I love all the stuff you did in the Navy, but do you have a CDL?
Nope.
Oh, I don't have a CDL. Okay, cool. Well, let's get you to the truck driver school that we have multiple schools that are partnered with us. Get your CDL, get your tank license and all the other stuff. We got that rolling for you. Now let's get you over to Vulcan, who wants to hire you because now you're fully trained up and ready to go. Right?
Wow.
That's what we tried. That's our goal is to find avenues to get people where they need to go. Or you already have your CDL. Then I fire your resume off my point of contact up there. Ruby reviews it and says, yes, no, maybe so. I beg, plead, and borrow. Hopefully we get you an interview. And then through your personality and that conversation you have is what's going to get you hired with that company. That's how we work, right? We are here to assist veterans and their family members to find meaningful employment. And the definition of meaningful is in the eye of the beholder, right? The young guy, the private coming straight out of AIT and the National Guard and the reservists, they don't really have a depth of experience or education. So we have to start to help find them maybe the lower entry level jobs where they can build their experience, their knowledge, and grow. So hopefully one day they can get that nice, really, really good job. Or if they're going to college, we can help them, get that part-time job. That 4, 8, 13-year guy that's getting out with all their experience, a little bit more depth, a little bit more experience, they could probably go into those medium to higher medium income jobs. The retirees at the 20 plus year guys, they have so much depth of experience, so much knowledge, that tangible and intangible traits they've learned throughout time, that when we help them with their resume and we help them build their portfolio, there's companies out there that are hiring guys without educations that are graduating, that are retiring from the military, corporate jobs, because they have the experience, the depth, the knowledge, and the leadership, the intangible traits you can't learn from a book, right? It's built through experience and sacrifice. And that's what they want. They want that. So we really work hard to help everybody find what they want to do and get them where they need to be at. And I'll talk to you guys about wants and needs. Everybody wants to make a lot of money, but do you need to make a lot of money, right? And the reason why I say it is because you can make what's a lot of money, again, is a definition thing. $100,000 in San Diego doesn't seem like a lot of money. It is. The median income here is only $68,000, but $100,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money here. But $100,000 in Kansas, I mean, you're rolling.
You're a millionaire.
If you're in Kentucky, you're doing really well for yourself. So there's understanding of what you need to make and vice what you want to make, because like a lot of us, you grind for 20 plus 30 years. Do you really want to go work 50 to 60 hours a week? And these are questions you have to ask yourself, in reality, is this, what do I want to do? Because now it's time, because now you actually have a cushion of income coming in and saying, hey, well, I guess I'm gonna, do I need to make $100,000 or do I need to make, $35,000? Right. We can do that part-time in some areas, right? So it's all understanding that what you need, vice what you want, and then going from there.
You guys not only find somebody a job, but you train them to a degree.
Well, we have training partners. We don't train them ourselves. Okay. We have training partners. Yeah.
So you line them up with somebody that they could get training with. So
right.
you help them find the job, you help them find the training, and then when they get the resume across your desk, you're like the inside guy inside the company, pretty much helping them out. Right.
We get, so every company has the AI system they run their resumes through, right? That looks for keywords and what have you. And if you don't have enough keywords, your resume just gets spit out the other side and doesn't go into the next pool. We try to help them target their resume for one, because all federal, state, and government jobs have ethical rules they have to follow, that everyone has to be treated the same way, right? When it comes to the application process. What we do is take your resume and I send it to the recruiter, and they send it to the hiring manager, or vice versa. I send it to the hiring manager directly, and then they can review it, and then they're waiting for your application to come in. And then they can just pull you right away once your application is complete, as long as you pass all the requirements in the application process, right? Because, like Wells Fargo, you got to take a test.
Really?
Yeah, you got to take a test, so if you can't pass their test, they're not going to hire you, no matter how nice you are, right? You want to go work for the state of California, you got to pass an exam that basically validates your experience and what you're saying you can do. So there's different, BNSF requires you to take a test for certain positions. So there's some things that are out there that you just don't realize you're going to have to do when you're applying. I like to tell everybody the application of the resume is the easiest part. Getting through the interview, the conversation as it is probably the thing that we really try to work on some of our candidates with, because you spend 4 years in the military, you haven't had a conversation with anybody but your roommate or your friends. So when it comes to tell me about you, you get that stone cold 10,000 yard stare, because they don't know how to talk about themselves. Or I'm reading your resume here and it says you did X and your results was this, and you just sit there and go, yeah. No, they want you to amplify and explain it, right? So getting guys to understand. And I was actually working with a gal earlier today. We were talking about how to handle questions, because she's got some gaps in time in her life, and they're due to significant events. They're not due to her just deciding to take a road trip and go hike through the Alps. No, she actually had significant events in life, right? She had a bad accident. She had an event where, COVID, and then there's a natural disaster event, right? So she had events that affected her employment cycle. She's like, how do I answer that? It's like, well, just like, the truth, right? Yeah. Hey, what? So I see you're missing this. What happened? Well, that was, there was the fires in Northern California and I was evacuated. Oh, that makes sense to anybody, right? No one's going to sit here and go, well, why'd you evacuate? Yeah. It doesn't work that way. And then everybody that it was affected, all of us were affected by COVID one way or another. And I think right now it's kind of a unique time where employers aren't going to really dive into those big gaps in this, especially most recently. But being able to speak to something in your resume that you can explain to make it a possible negative, a positive, right, is the thing that most of us struggle with. And then, don't give, information that they don't ask for. Oh yeah. I mean, I was bit by a dog and I had to take work off for 3 weeks, and I hate dogs. This is Petco. I mean, we like dogs here, so you have to know the environment you're in. And then it's a conversation. The interview is not it shouldn't be an interrogation. And I tell everybody, if the interview feels like an interrogation, is that somewhere you want to work? Because these are people you're going to spend more time with people you work with than you do with anybody else in your family. If you're working with people you don't want to be around, why would you want to do that job? I mean, in the military, we've all had people and seniors and leaders and what have you that we could not stand being around. But we had a saying in the Marine Corps, just wait 6 months because one is going to leave.
Yeah.
So, but they don't do that at Amazon, So if you don't want to be around interrogators, don't take that job. Go somewhere else. And so you got to ask yourself, what is this where I want to be at? I did a couple of interviews with a couple of companies I really enjoyed and thought were great until I did the interview. Then I realized, all right, cool. I don't want to work here.
We talked about people that are looking for jobs and stuff like that. What about that 1 in 10 population of every single small company out there, the entrepreneurs? The majority of us may be looking for a job that we could just slide right into, that kind of fulfills some of the things that we really want to do, as long as it's covering our basic necessities. And then obviously we want to make sure that we're doing something that we want to do, because hey, let's face it, most of us did not join the military to do the exact job that we chose. You know what I mean? Like I joined as a rescue swimmer candidate. I was supposed to be jumping out of helicopters and saving babies, and
that's not what ETs all day.
Yeah, no, I do maintenance admin stuff. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, not what I anticipated. So yeah, this is your time to figure out what you want to do, right? And there's a lot of entrepreneurship, because a lot of us actually think that way. We kind of have to, because we have limited resources, and sometimes, hey, yeah, we need to do this. okay, so where's the funding for this? No, you just need to figure it out, So a lot of us have that mindset already. What does Work for Warriors do for them?
For entrepreneurs, it's a unique thing, right? Because if you're going to go into a business, you're not coming to me to help you find a job. What I would do would talk to somebody about if they want to be an entrepreneur, whatever they want to do. Say, you want to own a food truck, right? That's the new coolest thing in the world. Believe it or not, CalVet has a program for entrepreneurs to help you get your program and pay for it to get it started. There's funding out there for veterans that states throughout the country have to assist in entrepreneurship, because we need small businesses just as much as we need big businesses, because we need people to be in the empty buildings that are throughout our state so the windows don't get broken, and don't be spray painted on, right? So there's a lot of programs at CalVet, and I can't express this enough, because I served 30 years. I had no idea CalVet even existed until I briefed at one of their events.
That's fact. One of the programs and from outside resources, and CalVet came up, and we're all like, what the heck is this? And
Yep.
like, oh wow, this is an awesome resource. CalVet. Why are we just now finding out about it?
Yeah, it's a great program. They can help you buy a house. They can help you start a business. They can help you go to school. All the stories you hear of, you get 0%, your kid goes to school for free. It's true. These events are out there. These actually happen. But I think California is the only one actually trying its heart out to tell you about it. And when they hold their briefs, we just did one at Marine Corps Recruit Depot last week, I think it was. And that was the fullest I've seen at an event. And what was funny, it was all sailors. I think there's like one Marine in there, but the rest was all sailors. And I thought it was funny because we did an event at North Island with the at Float Training Group, and not North Island, sorry, at 32nd Street, the Float Training Group, and we had a pretty good audience. But the one thing I got from that audience was, we got to get this word out. We got to share this information, and it's out there. You go to Google CalVet, it's going to pull right up. And there's a phone number on there, 1-800 number on there, and it's funny, if you dial that number between 8 and 5. Someone's going to answer it, because it's always ringing, because nobody ever calls them.
So you're telling me there's a veteran resource out there that they actually answer the phone call,
and you don't get put on hold like you do at the VA and get bounced around to people all throughout the country.
Hello,
when you talk
sir.
to CalVet,
Yeah.
you're talking to CalVet.
Hello, sir. Can you continue the hold? No, I've been on hold for 2 hours.
Yeah, your hold time is approximately 127 minutes. Oh, awesome. we value every conversation. Please remain on hold for the next 3 hours. And your answer is very important. Your call is very important to us. But no, it's so entrepreneurship is something that there's a lot of programs out there to get started. The number one way I would say that if anyone wants to be an entrepreneur is find a mentor, right? There's all kinds of veteran mentorship groups that are out there, and a lot of entrepreneurs that come to them. So you have the San Diego Veterans Beer Club. There's a whiskey club. There's a lot of different ride clubs, what have you, that are out there. And it's just reason why there's so many different ones, because everyone's a different niche. Not everybody likes beer, not everybody likes whiskey, not everybody likes motorcycles, whatever. But there's an entrepreneurship out there. And a matter of fact, I'm going to a thing up in El Toro or Lake Forest. I still call it El Toro here in 2 weeks. And it's just local businesses coming together, local entrepreneur veterans are coming together, trying to figure out how to get veterans involved in owning their own business. Right.
Wow.
So it's out there, right? There's people that want to assist, but the mentor is probably the biggest thing, because there's a lot of stuff to own in a business that I couldn't tell you about, because I've never owned one. I've read a book and I've talked to somebody. And so I'm on LinkedIn, and, and I meet people that, hey, if you ever have a guy that wants to do something, let me know. All right, cool. So like I got James Miramontes, and he's one of my old first sergeants, and he's running a real estate business up here, and he's doing really well. Right. And he's always about, hey, I'll train anybody to be a real estate guy. Perfect. So if someone says, hey, I'm really looking to go into real estate, you know anybody? I know a guy up in up in Riverside County, Maurice Watkins, say, hey, I know Maurice, he's up there. He's closer to you up there in Marietta. Go talk to that guy. Right. There's a lot of people out there, but like you were saying at the very beginning, building that community, it's up to us to have the community, right? And the community is only as strong as people that are in it and get that information.
Right.
But there's entrepreneurship ways to do it. There's programs to assist, and there's people to help mentor and answer those hard questions of, like, the how, the when do I pay my taxes? Two things in life are guaranteed: death and taxes, right? So knowing someone knows how to do the business is the way to go about it. But I'll find it for them. That's what I could do for him. I'll find a guy.
If I'm an employer and let's say I work at Raytheon, do I just like hit you guys up on the website, or how does that work? How do you guys find your employers?
So I was a recruiter in the Marine Corps. I was up in Connecticut, and I associate employers like finding candidates for the Marine Corps, right? You got to go find them because there's a billion programs that are out there that all try to say the same thing, but have a dollar sign next to them. In some way or somehow, nothing, nothing's for free is what an employer told me, right? I was like, well, I mean, I am, because they're befuddled that we don't charge them to a system, and that is through communication and then just talking, right? So I've met employers at job fairs. I've gone to businesses and just walked in and said, hey, is the HR people here? Where do they work at? And talk to them. And that's building that partnership. And it takes some companies, or like that day you talk to them, are like, you know what? I need some of this. Let's get this started right now. And then some companies are like, well, we got to work through this. And I've been working with a couple of different police departments and getting through their HR process to ensure that they trust what we're going to do and not come back at them in some way. To bill them is a reality. So, and when I say we're free, I mean, you heard me say it, we're free. Oh, by the way, did I say we're free? Because try to get people to understand that. And so we also word of mouth. I was working with the Scout Trudy with General Dynamics, information technology information group. She, because of how I was helping her find people, she sent my name to 6 different people she has worked with in the past. And those 6 people contacted me and said, hey, I heard you do this. Is this true? Yes, I do this. And we were able to help them get them on the program. So now our partnerships with all these different corporations out there is just getting bigger every day.
You reach out to the company and vice versa, or they reach out to you, and then you start the process, and that's going forward. Going a little bit back to how do you add the postings for the interviews, right? Because you said about the passwords and not changing all of that stuff.
Right.
But can you apply directly from your website? I saw you have on each and every single one of your postings, you have apply now, right? You have read more, get more information, and then from there you say apply now. How does that process work, if you can tell us?
So what happens is when you hit apply now, you're going to apply to me or to one of my partners that are out there in Work for Warriors, and we're going to get your resume because that's some requirements, right? So you're going to go in there, you're going to put your resume into it and all that good stuff. Then we're going to get your resume. We're then going to take your resume and we're going to validate it that it meets the requirements of that position, at least the requirements, right? The required, not the preferred. And if you meet the requirements and everything is good to go, then I send it to my partner at the corporation or the company that's hiring. And then I send you the link to actually apply to that job.
And if I don't have a resume, what happens?
Well, I'll send you an email right away saying, hey, buddy, Yogi, I need your resume. You're going to say, I don't have one. I said, well, tell you what, didn't figure you did. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to send you professional resume format. I'm going to explain to you what you need to put in there. I'm going to send you a easy to follow PowerPoint on how to set up a resume and what to put on it. And then we're going to start with the really rough draft. Then we're going to go to the rough draft, and then we're going to go and we're going to get that thing tight to where you are now confident in what you're putting on paper to talk about yourself. For your professional summary, to your professional skills, to your history is the easiest part. We can all figure that one out. But when it comes to that professional summary, that 30-second elevator speech about why you want to talk to me, and then supporting that professional summary, those professional skills, those intangible and tangible traits that you have from either SEER clearance to leadership to team building to PMP certificates, what have you, all those things that you want to put on there as professional skills, and they support your summary, and then they support, you have the education and the history, and it all supports everything. And then we send it to that client, the company, and they say, I want to talk to this Mr. Yogi, and we get you set up and hopefully get you that interview going. So then I'm out of it, and now it's between you and the company. But I'm still here if you have questions, right? Like say, if you have that initial, because you're gonna get that initial call from them. The initial call is gonna be really weird because they're gonna be really, really nice, and they're gonna be laughing and giggling and whatever, and kind of coming at like, oh, I see here you have a Microsoft certificates. Is that true? Oh, great, that's awesome, good. And oh, was that an interview? No, it wasn't an interview. That was a screening. Okay? And that screening is going to happen to make sure that when you go to the interview, you're not wasting much time.
Right.
So that's what we try to get you through up to that interview. And then once you go to the interview, it's your responsibility to close the door behind you.
So now let's say I went to the interview and I thought I did great,
right?
But I never heard from the company again.
So the only thing we require companies to do or ask them to do is to give us feedback.
Okay.
You know, and I tell them flat out, when I talk to companies, the only thing I need you to do is get feedback. If I send you a guy and he comes, shows their resume or interview, and he looks like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, you know, he's a mess, whatever. I need to know that, right? So I can talk to the guy. If he stumbled on his words, stuff like that, that's coaching. And that's just sets and reps, right? We can coach through the you know, conversation, and we work on that with candidates. The hardest thing is when, you know, you come out feeling really good, right? Like you knocked it out of the water. And then I get that comment from the, you know, my partner saying they're really good. We really like them. And then we get that we went with somebody else, right? That's the hardest part for me, because it's like, well, you really liked him. He felt really good, right? And then you find out they picked somebody else. Well, why they pick somebody? That's just your life, right? There's 5 people that got interviewed, you know, and they get ranked 1 through 5, and sometimes you're 3. The first time I applied to work for Warriors, when I was getting picked, you know, associated, I didn't get picked.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't get picked. They picked somebody else over me, and it was like, wow, that's what it feels like, right? And then I got an opportunity later on to you know, because I got a phone call and said, hey, are you still interested? I am. And luckily I'm here today. But it happens. Rejection happens. That's part of going to the workforce. You know, if they're hiring 5 people and one person really stands out or has all the preferred stuff too, right? Not just the quality required, but the preferred things, chances are, and if they're likable, right, they're gonna want to get on the team. So
I was reading through your website also that you follow up with the people after they get hired and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have a specific timeline, or what is the process after that?
Well, so we need feedback too, right? Mm-hmm. So our headquarters office up in Sacramento will send out, you know, an email basically saying, hey, how was your experience? Do you feel like what did we do good? What did we not do good? What could we improve on? And some of it, you know, I can't please everybody, but like, you know, I'm not going to write your resume for you. You know,
right.
You know, like prime example, I dealt with 10 new candidates today. That's just the new candidates that I dealt with today, right? That haven't been part of Work for Warriors yet. And I worked with 15. Yeah, I'm looking at my notes here. I worked with 15 current candidates today. So say I was writing their resumes, and then these 10 people hit me up. That's 25 resumes to write. And that's just today, right? Or work on. So that's the 15 people. I was going through the resumes with them and you know, giving them notes and what have you. So I just don't have there's not enough time in the day to do the work.
You don't have the bandwidth.
Right. And there's people, and I tell everybody, don't pay anybody to write your resume. Do it yourself. Take the time, sit down and really think about what your traits are. What do you bring to the table to get yourself hired at a company? And why would they want to bring you on? You know, if you're Cro-Magnon, belt fed, you know, kill guy, nobody wants to be around you. You know, you're scary. And if you're ultra touchy.
That's what Maurice's program is going to help you out with, that reboot.
Exactly, right.
And I completely understand like the whole entire work while you're trying to get out, and also kind of like sacrifice yourself a little bit. If I didn't get put on limb, man, probably would have been the same way, man. Like,
well, that's who we are, right? That's just how we work. I'm not saying I did it right, but I let my peers that were my battalions, I let a couple of them go and take care of, do skill bridge, stuff like that, because it's more important for me to let them be, you know, set their conditions than it was for me to set my own conditions. I'm not saying I did it right. I just did what was right for me.
Right.
Yeah. And that's
as it should be.
Yeah. And there's these resources that are out there. I wanted to kind of push towards this too. Like, hey, yeah, Work for Warriors may not be able to help write resume, but there's other organizations out there. Mm-hmm. Literally, that's like their bread and butter. They'll help you set up your resume, and they'll help you set up your LinkedIn. And that's what we're gonna help you guys find on future episodes too, and also past episodes. Like Maurice's program has a resume writing aspect to it as well. So does every career resource center on every base. You know, I mean, it's where I went. That's where I went. I went to on Camp Pendleton. I went to the MCCS's, the Marine Corps Community Services resume writing class, and then I sat down with 2 different guys in there. One was really helpful. One stole my lunchtime. You know, but I mean, it was really good information, and they taught me a lot because it was 2 different styles of writing and different ways to explain things. And I think that's what I needed to learn. So. And then, of course, after I did it, I went back and sent a mass email out to my entire regiment saying, hey, resume writing, go to the class, take the time. Don't pay somebody, because at the end of the day, you're writing about yourself.
and who knows you better than you do, right? And if you're somebody like me who looks at himself in a negative light constantly and goes, I could do better, maybe you should have somebody help you write your resume, but you want to make sure that it's your story, because when it comes down to targeting to the resume, if you pay for it, you start to write it anyways.
Right. And you got to proofread it and change it.
Mhm.
Because there's still, and I fell into that category as I was starting to go through this transition. The first thing I did, I went on LinkedIn and I was like, who can write my resume? And there was like 10 people. And I was like, cool, are you veteran friendly? Are you military? Can you understand the lingo? And they're like, oh yeah, everybody was like, yeah, we're perfect.
Yep.
And as we started talking, they had no idea what even the basic stuff meant. And it's like, you have no idea what military conversation is. And
give me your last 6 evals and your awards, and I'll write your resume.
Yeah.
Right. Seriously.
So,
And it charge you $350.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's, oh man, I was just like, man, I don't even know if I'm gonna need a resume, but I just kind of wanted to have it just to go through the exercise, so that way I could better help others, through the process as well. So yeah, man, it's just like it's kind of overwhelming, we're thinking about, man, I have to go from a Navy eval writing or Marine Corps writing as well, and then try to convey it to civilians. It's like I was talking to somebody earlier, and I was like, hey, I was talking to a company, and I was like, oh, your prior service? And it's like, no. Okay, well, I'll make sure I break it down a little bit further, because we had the short talk that we will have with each other, like, hey, like we brought Top on the show, he told us everything, and we just went on our very old day. Like, nobody's gonna understand who I'm talking about. You do. Yeah.
Top, the hell's Top? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we have a language, right? We have the military is a community of we have our own language, we have our own culture, we have our own society, we have our own means of talking to one another. I mean, this is the only, it's like the Australians, killed me, when they said, the guy says, that guy over there, yeah, he's a good cunt. It's like, what? But then it dawned on me, I was like, we always say stuff like, oh, that's a good fucker over there, he's a good dude, that guy's good. Yep. We have our own way of using words that aren't associated or really socially acceptable in some places.
Yeah.
So and I think it's one thing for a lot of us transitioning. You have to realize words mean things, and how we usually use them sometimes can, you'll get a laugh, or sometimes you'll get like a that's kind of a weird, not uncomfortable thing. So it's I wouldn't trade it for the world. I did 30 years, and now I get to do a few more years taking care of people. And I had to tell you guys, as you go through your transition with what you're doing for your service and the medical stuff, the good news is, you're both over 20, so you get your retirement, and plus all your VA stuff will be done for you when you get out. So you ain't got to fight the VA. But VA medical is awesome. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody says. VA medical is awesome. You just have to have the right attitude.
Oh yeah.
Be nice and be patient. And if you're nice and patient, just be a decent human being. They're really helpful.
San
Diego.
San Diego's, I've heard some of the best VA programs here, and I'm starting to see it, and kind of hope that when I go up to Washington, I get to experience the same amazing resources as well.
I think a lot of it's just attitude. I've walked to the VA clinic here in Oceanside and seen a complete and total asshole be a complete and total asshole because he thought that was acceptable for him to be that way. And I actually felt I needed to apologize for him because I felt bad the way he was talking to the person at the desk. Just asked him a simple question. That guy's like, no, don't worry about it, sir. You have a great day. I was like, man, I have to worry about it because that's just wrong.
Yeah.
But just be a decent human being.
You guys help people find jobs. It sounds like you guys are excellent. A little mentorship going on in there. You don't write the resumes, but you at least point them in the right direction.
Right.
Give them an awesome starting point, which is often all we really need is just a great starting point. And then, you kind of get them going on the, not evaluation, but the interview process. And then you give them feedback. That's feedback that normally we would never get if we didn't use a program like Work for Warriors. So
for companies that are going to be listening to this and veterans that are associated with this, do you have a specific way that you want for them to reach out to you so that they can partner up with you?
They can go straight to our website, and then on our website, contact Work for Warriors, and that'll go up to Sacramento, because we do have people throughout the state. Like I have partnerships up in Northern California, Southern California, what have you, and then Central. But we do have people at a target. Like my target is San Diego County, so like I focus down here, but I also leach into Orange and Riverside County because they touch us. They're right there. So if they go to workforwarriors.org, or they call our 916 number, it's on our card, the direct line, it'll take them straight to Sacramento, and then our leadership up there will help figure out who to send it to and get them that link. Or they can just email me directly at chuck.callahan@workforwarriors.org, and they'll get an answer back.
let's say time machine, hey, how many years did you do? So like 50 years ago,
30.
when you're 18, I mean 30. Yeah, I had to throw an old man joke in there, But back when you were 18 years old, what would you tell yourself to better prepare yourself for your journey on that?
I would tell myself exactly what my dad told me: shut up, keep your eyes and ears open, be smart, and remember, there's after actions to every action. So just think before you execute. That's about all I tell 18, 19-year-old me, because I probably wouldn't listen to me anyways.
What kind of books and or podcasts, what would you recommend?
So I would recommend anybody, when it comes to podcasts, a wide variety. Don't narrow your focus to like-minded people. And the reason why I say that is because if you don't listen to people you disagree with, you'll never understand what they are talking about. All right. And
I like that.
You'll never have a valid argument, because you'll always be fighting from a position that you think is stronger. So when it comes to listening to podcasts, watching news, reading newspapers, reading books, it's okay to read things that maybe you don't agree with, so you can understand, another point of view, and educate yourself, because maybe it's a misunderstanding of why you disagree with that. Right? Maybe you think something because you heard it said by three very like-minded people that all said the same thing in a circle, and you're like in that echo chamber going, you got to get out of that and educate yourself. And I think it's part of the problem we have as a society is people don't want to get out of their comfort zone. They want to be around people that are like-minded like themselves, and it's hard. It's not easy. It's hard. So don't be afraid to listen to people you disagree with. And then when it comes to books, I'm not a big reader, mainly because, like Chris, I get migraines, and I have very stupid things when I read.
Yeah, me too.
Because I can't see any damn thing, and they give me headaches when I have to read. So, but there are a lot of books I read, and there's a lot of stuff on tape, and you can get anything through the Naval. How's that program? There's a book on tape.
Audible and
the greatest
books and stuff like that.
The greatest program in the world. I was driving back and forth to Yuma every Friday night, Monday morning. I think I knocked out the entire Commandant's reading list in the 3 years I was doing that. So it was great. But there's a lot of when it comes to reading books, I read mostly educational stuff, right?
Okay.
Or motivational stuff. When it comes to like fiction and all that, I mean, I'd rather watch a movie. But there's a lot of really good books out there to pick up to just get to make yourself smarter. And again, challenge your thought. Don't be afraid to read something you disagree with, because there's some books out there that'll piss you off, right? Which is good, but at the same time, it helps you understand where people come from, their point of view. I've been struggling reading this one lately, which is I'll tell you, it's an eye opener. how to write a federal resume. It just makes your brain hurt, but it's full of good information, and it's something I picked up to make myself educated, because I never wrote a federal resume before.
Yeah. No, that's great. I like how you brought up like something that you're like working some work material, because a lot of people don't highlight, hey, I'm diving deeper into my craft, helping other people write resumes and stuff like that, diving deeper into that. And the free apps, man, I'm all about free apps. Check out this one app. It's called Libby.
Yep.
Libby. You could link up the congressional library. You could link up your local library to it, and then you could read all these unlimited books. Again, hey, thanks for coming on here. We are really glad you came on here, man, because what we're doing here is we're building a tribe. We're building a family. As we are either joining, transitioning, or still reintegrating into the community, hey, we could all come together and talk about these things that need to be talked about.
Gotta get past the adversarial and just become a team. That's all it is.
Hey, Chuck, it was a pleasure talking to you. We really, truly appreciate you. And we're going to keep in touch and build this tribe together, bro.
Awesome, gentlemen. I appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Any questions you have, you guys already hit me up at. Sorry it took me so long to be technically dysfunctional, but like Chris said, he did throw the old joke out, and it's true. I am old and I am a man. So,
Yeah.
but don't worry. So are you.
Yeah.
I'm not old. I'm experienced.
Yeah.
There you go. Right. No, I'm old, man. I'm old.
I
All right, boys.
used to tell everybody like, hey, I might be I might be your senior, but I'm also your elder. All right.
Yeah, the gray beards of the tribe.
Yeah. All right, to everybody that's listening, hey, it's not unicorns and rainbows. You guys have a good one.
Thanks, buddy.
Do us a solid. Share this content with everyone you know, regardless if they're associated with the military or not. This content will help someone you know, and hopefully will lessen the deadly gap after service. Our goal is to do whatever we can to reduce the number of suicides from 22 to 0 within the community. Give us a 5-star review, follow, like, and subscribe. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, and you can follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram for more content from our guests. These are our personal experiences, and we do not represent the views of the United States Navy and/or the Department of Defense. Your transition is ultimately up to you. Please do your research and ask questions. Use Master Chief Google or ask a friend and network within the community that you belong to. Return to Roots out.